G'day folks, welcome to the channel that helps you to see the difference between truth and error. In this video, I want to give you 100% proof that the Quran is false. The Quran is not from God. The Quran is actually filled with logical errors, scientific errors, and contradictions. Let's get right into it. The first passage I want to look at is in Surah chapter 4, ayah 82. It says this, "Do they not consider the Quran with care? Had it been from other than Allah, they would surely have found therein much discrepancy." What the author of the Quran is trying to say here is that the Quran must come from God because the Quran does not have any contradictions. If somebody was to write a religious book and not be guided by Allah, that religious book would have many contradictions. And so therefore, since the Quran, according to the author of the Quran, has no contradictions, it must be from God because only God can write a religious book without contradictions. Now, is that true? Is that statement in and of itself true? Obviously, it's not. It's perfectly possible for somebody to write a religious book with no contradictions and claim that that book is from Allah, yet in reality, the book is not. Now, obviously, I don't believe Allah is the true God of the Bible, but you understand the point I'm trying to make there. So clearly, right there, we can see that the Quran has a logical error. Therefore, the Quran cannot be from God. The next passage I want to look at is Surah 34, ayah 50. Surah 34, ayah 50. And this is another logical error. Now, in the context of the passage, when you look at the verses before ayah 50, people have been accusing Muhammad of giving falsehoods under inspiration, a supposed inspiration, and Muhammad saying, well, you just like your ancestors who rejected the truth and so forth. And he says, I'm not possessed, he says in ayah 46 here, because obviously they were accusing him of being possessed. And in ayah 49 it says, the truth has arrived, so this is not falsehood and so forth, And then in ayah 50 he says this, "Say, if I am astray, I only stray at the loss of my own soul. But if I receive guidance, it is because of the inspiration of my Lord to me. It is He who hears all things and is ever near." Now think about what the author of the Quran is trying to say here. First of all, what does he mean when he says, "if I am astray"? Well, in the context, he seems to be referring to the revelations that he is receiving. If I'm going astray in regards to these revelations, he says, I only stray to the loss of my own soul. Some translations say, I only stray against myself. I'm the only one that's being harmed in this. And I also think that he's referring to the revelations because when he says, if I am astray, it's being contrasted with the words, if I receive guidance because of the inspiration of my Lord. So what Muhammad is trying to say here is that if he's going astray in regards to these revelations, supposed revelations that he's receiving, then the only person that's going to be hurt is himself. Now, is that true? Is that statement true? Absolutely not. Many people historically have been harmed because of the words that have been written in this Quran. Many people have been harmed because of these supposed revelations from Allah, especially the ones regarding war and slavery and so forth. Many people have suffered as a result of these revelations from Muhammad. In addition to that, hundreds of millions, perhaps even billions of people in the end will lose their souls in hell for all eternity if he is being led astray. And obviously I believe he is being led astray. So this statement in and of itself is a logical error. If Muhammad is being led astray in regards to these so-called revelations, he's not just harming himself, he's harming many other people, perhaps even billions of other people. So to me, I see a very clear logical error here in this surah. Now have a look at Surah 65. And this is a really sad one, Surah 65. It's sad. If you've got children, perhaps you should turn them away from the screen at this point, because what we read here is very sad. Now, in the context in Surah 65, ayah 1, Muhammad has been giving his followers a time period in which they must, before they must remove women from their homes when they divorce them. Okay, and he's talking about women in general in ayah 1. And then when you get to ayah 4, he speaks about people who don't have periods. Okay, divorcing women who don't have periods. And he describes three categories of people. The first category is people who no longer get their period anymore, so older women. The second category is women who just don't have periods, right? Prepubescent. And then the third category is pregnant women. And he says here, let me read it to you. Such of your women as have passed the age of monthly course, for them the prescribed period, if you have any doubts, is 3 months. And for those who have no courses, it is the same. For those who carry life within their wombs, their period is until they deliver their burdens, and for those who fear Allah, He will make their path easy. So the Quran here in this passage seems to imply that it's possible for a prepubescent girl to be married. It's possible for a prepubescent girl to be married. This is what kind of error would I call this? A sinful error, a moral error. And I think we all know that this is wrong. And this really adds to the last surah, the last passage that we looked at when we saw that Muhammad was saying, look, if I'm being led astray, the only person being harmed is me. That's false. Because this here results in the harm of children, prepubescent children. And of course, when they get their periods at a very young age, they may have children. So this is a horrific thing, and they, of course, can die giving birth to a child in that kind of young condition before their hips have been developed and so forth. And there's been a great debate with the guy who runs Inspiring Philosophy, the YouTube channel. He's debated somebody recently on this. Check out his debate, fantastic debate, as well as David Wood's regarding Aisha. But this is shocking to see this kind of thing in a book that is supposedly from God. Now, the next set of contradictions I want to give you, errors, these are ones in particular are contradictions, is a series. I want to show you 3 passages in the Quran that say that Allah sent warners and messengers to all the peoples of the world, okay, and there is no people that God has not sent a messenger to prior to the coming of Muhammad. And then I want to show you 3 passages in the Quran that say that Muhammad was sent to a people who never had a messenger or warner sent to them in the past. Let me read to you these 3, and this is clearly a contradiction. So let me read to you the first 3. It's Surah 10, Ayah 47. To every people was sent a messenger. When their messenger comes before them, the matter will be judged between them with justice, and they will not be wronged. Quite clearly, that surah is saying that every single people have received a messenger. Okay, that seems quite clear. Surah 16:36, let's go there. Surah 16:36. It says this, For we assuredly sent amongst every people a messenger with the command, serve Allah and eschew evil. And of people were some whom Allah guided, and some on whom error became inevitably established. So travel through the earth and see what was the end of those who denied the truth. That's another very clear surah that says that a messenger has been sent to all people, all throughout the earth. Surah 35:24 is the next one. Surah 35:24. It says this, Verily we have sent thee in truth as a bearer of glad tidings and as a warner. And there never was a people without a warner having lived among them in the past. That seems pretty clear. So the Quran is saying that there never was a people that did not have a warner living with them in the past, i.e. before Muhammad. Now compare those 3 passages from the Quran to these 3 next passages that I want to give you. So Surah 28:46, Surah 28:46. It says this, Yet thou art sent as a mercy from thy Lord to give warning to a people to whom no warner had come before thee, in order that they may receive admonition. That seems to be a very clear passage from the Quran to say that Muhammad was sent to a people that had never received a warner before. That directly contradicted the previous verse and the verses before that. So we see a very clear contradiction in the Quran. Have a look at Surah 32:3. Surah 32:3. Or do they say he has forged it? Nay, it is the truth from thy Lord, that thou mayest admonish a people to whom no warner has come before thee, in order that they may receive guidance. Again, this seems to be saying that Muhammad was sent to a people that never had a warner sent to them before. that again is in complete contradiction to the first three passages we read on this subject. So therefore we see another contradiction in the Quran. Now have a look at Surah 36, ayah 2 to 6. Surah 36, ayah 2 to 6. It says this: "By the Quran, full of wisdom, thou art indeed one of the messengers, on a straight way. It is a revelation sent down by him, the exalted in might, most merciful, in order that thou mayest admonish a people whose fathers had received no admonition, and who therefore remain heedless of the signs of Allah." Clearly, this again is saying that Muhammad was sent to a people that had never had a warner, never had a prophet sent to them in the past. And so therefore we see another contradiction in the Quran. Let me give you another contradiction. Surah 6, and this is quite a funny one actually. Surah 6, ayah 101. And this is an attack against Christianity, right? It says, "To him is due the primal origin of the heavens and the earth. How can he have a son when he has no consort? He created all things, and he has full knowledge of all things." So this seems to be saying that, how can Allah have a son if he has no consort? And you can trust him because he created all things and he has full knowledge of all things, right? So how can Allah have a consort? Well, he can't. That's obviously the question, a rhetorical question. He can't because he has no consort according to Allah. Now have a look at 19, Surah 19. 20 to 21. And this, of course, is Mary. And Mary has been told by the angel Gabriel that she's going to have a son. And she says, "Well, how can I have a son? How can I have a son?" Right? Let me read it to you. She said, "How shall I have a son, seeing that no man has touched me, and I am not unchaste?" He said, "So it will be. Thy Lord saith, that is easy for me, and we wish to appoint him as a sign unto men and a mercy from us. It is a matter so decreed." Now that just seems to be a contradiction to me, right? In the first passage it's saying, look, it's impossible for Allah to have a son because he has no consort. And here Mary's saying, how can I have a son if I'm still a virgin? How can I have a son if I've not slept with any man? He says, well, this is easy for me, right? Obviously, there's something going wrong here in the Quran. There's obviously a mistake. Now, obviously, as Christians, we don't believe that Jesus is the offspring of procreation or anything like that. We believe that Jesus, the Son, the Word of God, is eternally generated by the Father. He has always existed. So it's kind of a bit different, but you see the point that I'm trying to make here. Now, the next one I want to look at is Surah 1847. Surah 1847. And this is just a scientific error, just scientific errors. The Quran actually teaches a flat earth, if you didn't know that. It says in Surah 1847, "One day we shall remove the mountains, and thou wilt see the earth as a level stretch, and we will gather them all together, nor shall we leave out any one of them." So according to the Quran, one day the mountains will be removed and you will see the earth as a level stretch, a flat earth. Have a look at Surah 71:19. Surah 71:19. It says this, "And Allah has made the earth for you as a carpet spread out." Flat earth, right here from the Quran. So again, we have a scientific error in the Quran. Have a look at Surah 78, 6 to 7. Surah 78, 6 to 7. It says, "Have we not made the earth as a wide expanse and the mountains as pegs?" So according to the Quran, the earth is like a wide expanse and the mountains are like pegs holding it down. This Quran cannot come from God. It cannot come from the almighty creator of the universe, because if it did, it wouldn't have this kind of error in it. Now, I know some of you Muslims, if you're watching this video, you'll say, well, the Bible's got errors and contradictions and so forth. For those of you who are interested in that subject, I highly recommend Mike Winger's videos on this kind of stuff. His stuff is fantastic. And what I want to do is I want to put a link to some of his material in the description of this video for you to look at and check out next. I hope you've liked this video. If you have, please consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up. hit the bell notification button. I'll see you in the comment section and you'll see me in my next video.